Hola, ¿cómo estás? Hello, this is Minister Patricia, and I'm here with this week's live, and we're going to talk about the Shunammite woman. It should be showing down there. I think I put the title in, but I can't see it, and I'm not sure what I just did, but anyway, we're talking about the faith of the Shunammite woman, and that's found in 2 Kings, the 4th chapter, and I'm going to try to not read a whole lot of verses and just give, the reason that we're looking at this and the need keep our faith up, see what she did, and to maintain that level of faith. So 2 Kings, the 4th chapter. Let's see, did I do the greeting? It's been a long day. Family and friends stayed with my sister this morning, which was great. And then a veterans celebration honoring veterans with Veterans Day coming up this afternoon. And it was a really good program. Weather just chef's kiss, as they say. Weather was just beautiful. The sun was out. It was just cool. And it was a little windy during that time. So we had to batten down the hatches on some stuff. But other than that, as far as the temperature and everything, it was just beautiful. Sun was shining and it was just enough breeze for things to be nice. So that was really cool. But it's been a long day. We already see it's after 7. And yeah, so I need to do this and wind. I was thinking about phoning this one in. Just putting some kind of post up and saying I'll see you next time, but praying, and it's like, do I and should I? And so the Lord was like, yeah, at least I believe I heard him say do it. So we're here, but yeah, we're tired. I don't know why I'm saying we, like, the Holy Ghost ain't tired, but anyway, I could, yeah, I can stand to unwind a little bit. I'm going to watch Law and Order after this is over, take this dress off and sit down for a minute. I've been catching up on Law and Order. So I think I have 2 more episodes to catch up on for this new season. Don't know why I'm saying all that. So let's get into it. Let's see. 2 Kings, the 4th chapter. We will start at the 8th verse. I may read all of it. I don't know. We'll see. It's a lot. Okay. And it fell on a day that Elisha passed to Shunem, where there was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. And so it was that as oft as he passed by, he turned in thither to eat bread. And she said unto her husband, Behold now, I perceive that this is a holy man of God, which passeth by us continually. Let us make a little chamber, I pray thee, on the wall, and let us set for him there a bed, and a table, and a stool, and a candlestick. And it shall be, when he cometh to us, he shall turn in thither. And it fell on a day that he came thither, and he turned into the chamber and lay there. And he said to Gehazi his servant, Call this Shunammite. And when he had called her, she stood before him. Verse 13, and he said unto him, Say now unto her, Behold, thou hast been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for thee? Wouldest thou be spoken for to the king, or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. And he said, What then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, Verily she hath no child, and her husband is old. So let's just look at, and I'm going to read the remainder too. But I'm going to stop there and go back to pick up what we want to get out of that. And so we have this well-to-do woman in her community. She has enough to where she can add a room on to her house for Elisha. It started out that she would feed him a meal. It'd be a good stopping place for him to go when he passed through their area. So she laid out that hospitality for him and fed him continually, and then spoke to her husband. Is like, we should do more for him, basically is what she said, than these meals. And I think we can add a room, giving him a place to rest, and not just adding on some space where he could lounge, but providing some furniture there, and making it comfortable for him. So she did all this. And so around verse 13, he is asking her, okay, you're doing a whole lot for us. What can we do for you? And what I wanted to lift from that was the things that you've done, the obedience that you have given to God, the seeds you have sown into the kingdom of God, the sacrifices, the volunteer service, the being on the usher board, singing in the choir, cleaning the bathrooms, whatever you did, all of these things, they don't go unnoticed, and don't feel like you've wasted anything. God uses everything, so there's no wastage in God. He got it, and he knows right where to pick it up and to do something with it. So don't be discouraged. Don't be distressed, thinking that I've lived my life for God and He's not reciprocating or something of to that manner. He has not missed it, and he's checking for you. He's checking for you. So in verse 13, he asked her, well, what would you have us do for you? And he said, would you like for us to speak to the king, or speak to the commander of the army, the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. And this was a time period, and I didn't dig very deep into the history of it, but it's safe to say that there was a lot of oppression, the Syrian captivity, and different things going on. So she's basically saying, I'm safe. I'm good. I'm safe here. I dwell among my own people. She already, the passage is already laid out that she's well-to-do. So she's in a good place. So no, I don't need you to talk to the king. I don't need you to talk to the commander of the host or anything. We're good here. And I mean, quite possibly, again, I haven't delved into it deeply, but she probably already knew those people. She may have already been on good terms with the king and with the captain of the host. So, I don't need you to go talk to them for me. We're good. So, but he wants to bless her, and God wants to bless you. He wants to bless us. So let's not think that our good was just a waste of our time, and that, especially if you did it for the right reasons, that you weren't doing it to try to get over or to come up or, different things like that. But if your heart was in the right place with your seed sowing, with your giving of your valuable time and resources, then God is seeking to bless you. And she said she didn't need anything, basically, and for the most part she didn't. And a lot of times we don't want to say, like, especially if you've been disappointed, we don't want to say what we need. We don't want to go there because it's too painful. It's too painful to go there because the last time you went there, it didn't work. And you don't want to bring that up again. But God he's watching, he's looking, and he's going after that thing. So no doubt, because what they came up with for her, I'm sure she had that on her mind already. And that you know, maybe not in that moment. Maybe she had said, "Oh, you know, I've let that go," or what have you. But that's something that she could have gone to with God. But sometimes we, again, we don't want to risk the pain of disappointment. So we're like, "Oh, I'm good. I don't need anything. I'm good." So that's basically what she said. But Elisha, thank God, didn't let it go. And so he talked to his servant about it, and the servant is like, from what I can see, this is what she need. So the servant says in verse 14, because Elisha says, "What then is to be done for her?" And Gehazi answered, "Verily she hath no child, and her husband is old." So he's saying, you know, she got all this stuff going for her, but she has no child. So Gehazi was a little bit more, what's the word? Insightful, or I guess insightful's a good enough word for what I'm looking for. Then the prophet, it's like he honed right on in it, and the prophet, you know, want me to go talk to the king? You want to make sure the army got y'all safe, you know. So he says that, and so then verse 15, Elisha says, "Call her." And when he had called her, she stood in the door. Verse 16, and he said, "About this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son." And she said, "Nay, my Lord." So this is where it's showing up. You know, she already had some desires towards this, but she's let that thing go. So so anyway, he says, "About this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son." And she said, "Nay, my Lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid." Verse 17, and the woman conceived and bare a son at that season that Elisha said unto her, according to the time of life. So Gehazi saw what was missing, saw into her what she really needed. Because I don't think they just came up with, you know, "Oh, let's just buy her a bucket of whatever and bring it over here." You know, it wasn't like that. I think he saw into her of what she actually needed. And it bears out in the scripture, the way the story plays out. So where are we? Yes, so she has the child. Verse 18, and when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said unto his father, "My head, my head." And he said to a lad, "Carry him." The father says to a lad, "Carry him to his mother." And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon and then died. So he died on her lap. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God and shut the door upon him and went out. Verse 22, and she called unto her husband and said, "Send me, I pray thee, one of the young men and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God and come again." Verse 23, and he said, this is her husband speaking. He says, "Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath." And she said, "It shall be well." So so the husband's like, it's not appropriate to go after the man of God today. What we want to get from this segment of the passage is go back to where you got it from. Go back to God. In this instance, it's the man of God. This is Old Testament, and not that we would dismiss our man of God, our woman of God, our prophets, or anything like that. But the veil in the temple was rent, so we can go straight to God now, you know, as New Testament believers. But go back to where the promise came from. Take it back to him. Take it back to him. So let's read on. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and add that. Probably totally irrelevant, but maybe somebody needs this. I was studying when I was in college. I was studying with an A student. This is before I realized I can make A's in college, because I just thought, you know, just get through this thing the best way we can. So my latter years had better grades than my earlier years, but this particular person was already making really good grades. And in the way they did it back then, we get the test, we get old tests, and it was legal. It's not like we were stealing something, but there would be what was called a test bank, and you would get these old tests that the professor did and made available, and you study those because most and generally some of those same questions would be on the test that you would have. It wouldn't be the exact same test unless, by some miracle of God that happened. I mean, maybe rarely that happened, but most and generally there'd be something on there that would be on there. So what we were doing, we were reading the passages that the professor gave us and going through the tests and looking for the answers by reading it. And I remember I had one and I read like the first 3 lines of the paragraph and I said, it's not in there, and my A student study partner said, read on, like an old woman, read on, read on. And it just stayed with me because she was right, because later down in the passage was the answer that fit with what we saw on that test. We studied all night long. I was living off campus at the time. She was in a dorm. And I stayed on campus until like 5 in the morning, maybe, or something like that. Maybe a little earlier than that, maybe like 4. I don't know. But we studied all night. And then I drove home, drove to my apartment, got ready for classes the next day and all that kind of stuff. And made the best grade I had made in a while on those exams. So read on. I mean, she really sounded like somebody old grandma, but I was like, okay, and sure enough, a couple more sentences down in that paragraph was the answer. So let's read on and see what's off up in here. Okay, where were we? And he said unto his father, my head. Okay, the father told him to go back to carry back to the mama. He passed away. Okay, so the mom is on her way to find Elisha. And so I was saying, take it back to where it came from. So in this journey of life, you sown seed after seed after seed after seed after seed. You practically built the church. Almost made bricks without straw for the church. All of the things. And it looks like ain't nothing to look at, in comparison. But if God gave you a promise and something ain't right with it, maybe it came through, as in her case, the man of God told her what would happen. It happened. She had the child. The child is grown now, not a grown man, but a grown child. So she's had some experience mothering him, enjoying raising him and all of that. And then now he's dead. Why? We could have missed all that. I was good. Told you I was good. I made you your room and cooked you some bread and put a little candlestick in there. We've gone along fine. Why you come doing all of this stuff is basically what she has in her mind. And she's like, she didn't freak out. She didn't go off on her husband. She didn't get hysterical. She didn't even bury the boy. She put him on the bed of the prophet, that room she built. She put him on that bed and she said, get me a ride, call my Uber, get me a ride out there to where he is. And she was solid and stoic in that moment, headed there. She had it pulled together. And that kind of reminds me, and I'll just throw this in there. Maybe it's storytelling time. But when my dad wanted me to preach his funeral, and he had said it to me, he had told me, but I thought he was gonna live to be like 99 years old. I thought it's going way off in the future that this was going to be an issue. And so when he did pass unexpectedly to me, much earlier than like 20 years earlier than I thought he would. I decided I'm gonna tell nobody. It's like, I know he said he wanted me to, but I'm just gonna let that ride. I'm not gonna say anything to anybody, and then we'll be good. But but he made sure to tell certain people that were not gonna keep their mouth shut about it. I'm like, this man's still running things. It's like, he's on the other side and still running things because, you know, two people, his play sister and our cousin-in-law, not even in the same conversation at different times of the day, said he always said he wanted Trisha, he not do it. So like, okay, I'm on the hook for this. Yes, I have to get this together. And so I studied that week. I remember that Wednesday before, it was on a Friday. And I think that Wednesday before, maybe that Tuesday, I walked the seawall. I have a seawall in Port Arthur. I walked the seawall praying in the spirit and just trying to make sure I had the word, make sure I'm with God, need that peace, needed all of that. And everything's just going along fine, just solid. And stood up, stood flat-footed, delivered it, still good. And not nowhere in my mind that I think, okay, I'm gonna do all this and then it's gonna all fall apart. Which didn't fall apart, but you'll see as I keep going. And my prayer partner came to the funeral, and a friend of the family who used to sit in for Daddy on the radio told her, he said, okay, she's good, but after she finishes, she gonna need you, you know. And sure enough, I mean, I finished that message, sat back down in that chair on that pulpit, and it's like the dam broke. It's like the floodgates, everything, it just went. And then of course, you know, this is the end of the service, so you got to do that walkout. And I'm walking with the pastors and stuff. And so we, you know, you lead out, the pastors lead out at funeral processions. So I'm like that, and my prayer partner came up and joined me in the thing, and I'm barely able to walk out because I'm just overcome with grief. And like some cousins and stuff, they were I remember them, like, you know, reaching out and stuff, and all of that was great. And I made it through that, but it's like, you're like solid, you are professional, as Daddy said about me one time. You got it, you own it, and all of that, but you're still human. And so you get to this place where just all it just all, the floodgates, you know, it just all flows out. It's all flow, and that's good too, because you need that release. So I can see this going on with this woman, because she lays the baby in the bed, or the little boy in the bed. She's pulled together. Her husband says, she lets her husband know, I need to get the ride together to carry me out to see Elijah, see the prophet. And he's like, this isn't the day that we can do that. And she just calmly says, it's gonna be all right. It will be well. She doesn't, like, look, man, I ain't trying to out. She didn't do any of that stuff. And she tells the person that rides her out there, make haste, don't try to be gentle or whatever, because I'm riding. I'll let you know if it gets too much of a ride for me, but get me on out there. I need to get out there, because she still recognizes that time is of the essence with her son. And she gets out there, and she still has it all together. She still has it all together. But she sees him. She gets to where he is. Let's see where we are with that. Yeah, let's see. Verse 24. She saddled an ass and said to the servant, drive and go forward. Slack not thy riding for me, except I bid thee. Verse 25. So she went and came unto the man of God to Mount Carmel. And it came to pass, when the man of God saw her afar off, that he said to Gehazi his servant, behold, yonder is that Shunammite. And he said, run now, I pray thee, to meet her, and say unto her, is it well with thee? Is it well with thy husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, it is well. So So Elisha recognizes, why is she coming out here? Something's going on. And plus, it's not the particular day that you would go before the prophet. So he knows something's going on, but he doesn't know what's going on. But she says, it is well. It is well. So she's still holding that thing together. Her faith. Her faith is still holding that thing together because she says, it is well. She's not saying, my son died. I'm upset because you put me through all these changes. I was good. Nobody asked you to come in here with all of this stuff. And now look, she didn't say any of that. She, faith held together. It is well. Verse 27, and when she came to the man of God to the hill, she caught him by the feet. Now, she's not fighting him, but, she's overcome. Caught him by the feet, but Gehazi came near to thrust her away. So Gehazi is going to jump in because he's thinking she's going to attack him. But that wasn't the case. So the man of God said, let her alone, for her soul is vexed within her. Now, he's not saying she's crazy. He's saying she's upset. She's hurt. She's hurting. He says, and the Lord hath hid it from me and hath not told me. So he knew something wasn't right, but he didn't know what, and God hadn't let him know what was going on. But he's catching up in the process of this meeting. He's getting caught up on what's going on. So verse 28, then she said, did I desire a son of my Lord? Did I not say, do not deceive me? Verse 29, then he said to Gehazi, gird up thy loins and take my staff in thine hand and go thy way. If thou meet any man, salute him not. And if any salute thee, answer him not again, and lay my staff upon the face of the child. So they're making haste to get back to the child, and his staff is no doubt anointed, and it has the power of God on it. And so he wants to send Gehazi with the staff. And the mother, verse 30, and the mother of the child said, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And he arose and followed her. So in other words, listen, you coming back here, and you're going to do something about this. Yes, your staff might be nice, sending me with a little handkerchief or whatever the child and prayed over. That may be all well and good, but I need you to come and see about this. So Elisha gets up and he goes along with her. And so we go back to who promised. And again, I said the veil in the temple was rent so we can go straight to God. Not that we don't deal with anybody in between, because that may be, we do what God says to do. We follow his leading. So we may deal with ministers or what have you with our issue. But if God promised it, go back to him about it when it doesn't look like it's what he said it would be. In situations where it doesn't look like it's has ever even shown up, we go back to him about it to get clarity and to get our answer. And her faith, we're talking about her faith. So we want to have the same kind of faith that she has, where she doesn't lose it, doesn't, go off on people. She keeps her presence of mind. She keeps her focus on what she knows. He's the reason this happened. He's the one who told me this. So he probably knows something about what happened and what's going wrong here, and can help me to figure this out. And she's still human, where she's hurting. So she did let that side out. She was trying to keep it together, and she kept it together. That ride out there, preparing for the ride, taking the ride out there, even putting the baby down before she went out. So she was holding it all together until she got to him. And when we get to him, it's okay. It's okay to it's okay In fact, that's the best place to let it all hang out, to cry it out, to just lay before him and allow him to minister to us. There is a balm in Gilead. And he will soothe. He soothes our souls. Amen. So she, where are we in the story? Then he said to Gehazi, okay, so that's when he tried to send him back with his staff. And she like, I don't want your staff. Not the staff that you carry in, or your assistants and all that stuff. I don't want them. No, I need you. You the one did this. You the one spoke this thing. So I need you to come here and minister and deal with this. So he does. He gets up and he goes. Verse 29. Let's see, where are we now? Yeah, so yeah, that's where the staff part was. So let's go down further. Read on. Verse 31, and Gehazi passed on before them, excuse me, and laid the staff upon the face of the child. So he did have it, but following was Elisha. It says, and when he did so, this is Gehazi, there was neither voice nor hearing. Wherefore he went again to meet him and told him, saying, the child is, I'm sorry, I'm all out of frame, y'all. You have to excuse me on that. I'm leaning on furniture and stuff. My little thing here. So I'm a crier as far as when worship is taking place. Another little tidbit that's probably unnecessary, but I was dating a pastor at one time, and he's like, "Oh, she's a crier." I guess he thought he's gonna have him a Tammy Faye Baker or somebody helping him out. But Mercy said no. So, yeah, I need to stop playing. Okay, where were we? We're towards the end. Let's see. So it said the child didn't wake up. And when Elisha was come to the house, verse 32, behold, the child was dead and laid upon his bed. He went in therefore and shut the door upon them twain and prayed unto the Lord. And got to keep God in it. Got to pray unto the Lord. You got to find out what he wants in a given situation and what went wrong and what, why you're dealing with what you're dealing with, what's going on. You need some answers, and he's the one with the answers. But we go to him still, because Elisha could have just went down there and did the things that he did next, but he acknowledged God, and we want to do that as well. We want to acknowledge God, whether we are dealing with ministers in getting our answers or whether we've gone straight to him. We want to have that reverence for him. We want to acknowledge him. We want to call on him. We want to invite him. We want to worship him. Show him the respect that he is worthy of, and then allow the flow of what your instruction is that will come from him. So he shut the door and prayed unto the Lord in verse 34, and he went up and lay upon the child and put his mouth upon his mouth and his eyes upon his eyes and his hands upon his hands, and he stretched himself upon the child, and the flesh of the child waxed warm. Then he returned and walked in the house to and fro, that's verse 35, and went up and stretched himself upon him, and the child sneezed seven times, and the child opened his eyes. Verse 36, and he called Gehazi and said, call the Shunammite. So he called her, and when she was coming in unto him, he said, take up thy son. Verse 37, then she went in and fell at his feet and bowed herself to the ground and took up her son and went out. So the child came back to life. Elijah went there. He prayed. God told him what to do. We get unusual instructions from God, lay on somebody and stretch, and then they sneeze 7 times, So when God gives us instructions, they often seem they, they often seem crazy or things like that. But we do what he says to do, and we receive the blessing that we're seeking from him. So that's what we want to do. It's like, was it Naaman who had to dip in the old filthy sewer water? He had leprosy, and they said for him to dip, and I think it was some underling, somebody that was nowhere near his rank. I have to pull the story up just to get that straight. But he, he's like, I'm too big to be listen to that kind of advice and go dip in some sewage, you know. And 7 times at that. So he didn't want to do it, but he changed his mind and went ahead and did it and dipped, and the leprosy left. So we get instructions that don't always seem like what we want to hear, that aren't always what we want to hear, or that don't seem to make sense. Like my classmate telling me to read on, because I'm like, I got the book, this ain't in there. But it was just not where it should have been in my mind. It was further down in the passage. So the faith of the Shunammite woman. So what's this last part that we want to grab? She definitely worshiped at the end, so we want to have that in our repertoire of what we're doing. She went back to where the promise came from to get her answers, to find out why the promise wasn't promising no more. It's like, what's wrong with this promise? Something ain't right. Why are we doing this? Because could have left well enough alone. I was good not having a kid. But then she it proved that that was what she wanted, that Gehazi got it right. That was the very thing that she wanted. The way she went about it, it proves that that's what it is. And the point I want to make there is, even if you have some type of a desire or something you're wanting from God that you can't articulate, you can't tell people because they won't understand. They might think you're crazy. And you don't even really want to say it out loud yourself because you don't want to risk disappointment. That God knows. He knows, and he's going to show that thing up one way or another. Either the person that asked you the question and you go ahead and muster up the courage to go ahead and say, yeah, that is what I want. But that's one way. Or somebody might see, people can see the stuff that we don't want to see, or what have you. Not necessarily in a bad way, but in a helper of destiny type way. We have helpers that God will send to us. Not everybody's our enemy. Thank you, Jesus. But God will send people who will help us and who will encourage us just when we need it the most. And they'll see things that we may not see. And it might sound simple, and like Gehazi might thought, in his life that was no big deal. But in her life, it was everything, because that's something that she was definitely wanting from the Lord. So we have our helpers, and I'm just trying to see what stuff we want to grab from the story so that we can have the same kind of faith. We remain focused when stuff hits the fan. We don't freak out. We remain focused, and we go back to the original plan. Okay, what was this, and how does this work, and why is it not working? And no, your staff not gonna be enough. I need you, because you started this, and we got to get this figured out. So hopefully I am illuminating enough of what we need to pull from the passage when we to have the same kind of faith that she had. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to bring out. Sometimes we're being tested. And there were several miracles in Kings, and it was because God was trying to teach them to listen to him, because he had this turmoil, the Syrians and the different kings and just stuff going on, and God wanted to make sure that his people would hear and listen to his voice. And so a lot of things happened, a lot of miracles, this type of thing happened because he was training them to be able to hear from him, so that when things would get really bad, they would know, he is the true and living God, and he is the one that we're to listen to. So applicable to today, we could be going through things that are training us, and that's why the baby died, and I'm not saying it against somebody, with somebody that may have actually lost a child. I'm using that figuratively. That's why your promise stopped promising, or had a flat tire on you or whatever, that kind of thing. That's why something went off track with it. But yeah, and it's for the bigger purpose of what's going on, and the training for when you get over there, that what could have tripped you up and ruined everything over there won't, because you had your good training over here. Like with my example, the old tests that we were using to study, and the studying, and the me listening to the girl who made A's all the time and going ahead and taking her advice on what to do with that exam, helped me in the actual exam process, even with very little sleep. I mean, I think just enough time. I don't remember how early that class was. It might have been like a 9 or 10 o'clock class, but just barely enough time to get ready and go back to campus to take the test. But that study method helped with the big picture. It helped with the big exam, because in a lot of those same questions were on there. That was the Holy Ghost. So, every now and then you would get, that kind of a situation where maybe the professor just switched up the numbering on the test, but it was very rare that the old tests were exactly the same. But there would be questions that were on there. So yeah, so that helped me in the big situation, doing that stuff in the wee hours, when I didn't feel like it, and when I was already like, I looked at that paragraph, it's good, it ain't there, going to the next one kind of thing. Like, I guess that just ain't in the book. So yeah, so God is training us, and it will be well with us. That's another thing she said. It is well. She didn't start going into all kinds of details about everything. She stayed focused. I got to get to him. Take me to the king. I got to get to him, because he got my answer, and I need my answer. So let's do that. And I pray that this has blessed you this evening. And if there's something that I missed, that I didn't address, that sounded like I was and I skipped it or something, put that in the comments, and I'll come back and address that. Hey, Phil Parker, thanks for watching. Wow, it's been a long time, huh? A lot of years since high school. It's a blessing to have you on here. So I pray that you were blessed by it. Let's see, I think, is there another name there? Okay. So as those of you watch this later, I pray that that you're blessed by this. I pray that you guys have a wonderful week on this week, a good rest of this weekend. I guess we have a few more hours left in it, and that everything be good. Love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.